Welcome to Six Figure Trucker, the podcast where we share advice on how to be successful in trucking and have fun while doing so. We'll share stories, news, and advice on how to earn six figures in trucking, and we'll speak to guys and gals that are already doing so. Next, it's your host, Justin Scott. Let's get to the show.
So here with me today, I have Josh Henley. He's a driver for Norton Transport, joining us on the Six Figure Trucker today. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, sir?
Oh, doing well, Josh. Thanks for joining me today. Wanted to catch up with you. You've newer to Norton Transport, but you've certainly shined. You're doing a fantastic job with us, and just want to learn a little bit more about you. So, what are you up to this week? What does Josh have going on this week?
Well, this week I'm transporting a truck to Houston. Then I'm going up to Columbus, Missouri, to pick up a truck and take to Denver. Then pick one up out of Denver and bring it back to Aniwak. So, a bunch of cross country this week.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're set up pretty well, and I've noticed that. And obviously, with reliability and being able to commit to those type of runs, you have to be successful. So, is that a normal week for you, or do you usually stay pretty booked up like that?
Well, since I've been with Norton, I've been booked since day one. It's hard to stay not booked. So, yeah, I've been running pretty steady.
Good. Yeah, you got to make that money, right?
Yes, sir.
So how long have you been with Norton now?
I've been with Norton now for 5 months. I started in April.
Okay, so running for 5 months. So obviously, you've been a go-to. We've seen your name on the top of the charts here, and certainly want to talk about that and how you've been able to be successful with us for the 5 months. But let's take it back a little bit. What did you do before you came over with Norton?
Well, before I came to Norton, I was driving motor coaches for a charter bus company.
Oh, okay. How long did you do that for?
I've been doing that since 2003, and because of the pandemic, it actually pushed me to doing driveway.
Oh, great. Well, what's been your experience? Obviously, you've got a lot of driving experience in that with driving motor coach, but what has been your experience with driveway so far? And then, what are some of the differences that you like or dislike from when you were driving motor coaches?
The difference for me, I actually like the drive away. I like the money. The money is really great if you know how to manage, and I like the idea of being able to be my own boss. I work when I want to work. If I don't want to work, I don't have to work. So I like the freedom of the drive away industry versus the motor coach. With the motor coach industry, when I'm out driving passengers, you pretty much have to stop when they want to stop. You're on their schedule versus being on your own schedule.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, you don't really have any flexibility when you can or can't go out. So I certainly understand that. So has that been better on family life because you can kind of take time off when you want and you can make your own schedule in a way?
Actually, it's been great. I really love that about driveway. Yes, sir.
That's good. That is great. Yeah, I could see that. That's just been an ongoing theme, just being able to get out there and have that flexibility. There's a couple things I noticed about you, Josh. I think it looks like you run with a group of folks for the most part from time to time. Do you usually run with a group of people?
Well, when I first started, I ran by myself. And then I had a couple of buddies that signed on with Norton that was from out of the motor coach industry that I told about the industry. We've been getting called about doing trips together, so I put a little team together, and we've been running stuff when y'all have multiple trucks that need to be moved.
Oh, I like that. And there's got to be some benefits, maybe cost benefits, or just being able to have, that camaraderie and that social aspect of it with being with coworkers. So are you guys able to save some money by doing things like that?
Oh, yes, sir. We're able to save a lot of money doing it like that. Sometimes we've even be able to get cheaper rates on the hotel rooms when they see we got more than one guy coming to get a hotel room. So it helps out a lot.
Oh yeah, that's great. But also the social aspect of it. I mean, the driver community, especially drive away, it seems to be a pretty tight knit community. So it's probably pretty cool being out there with other folks and being able to share some of your experiences together, right?
Yes, sir. It is.
Yeah, I think so. So are these folks that you drove with that were in the motor coach industry that you kind of recruited on and helped us out?
Yes, sir. We all drove together for various companies. Sometimes we meet up down in Orlando together with different companies we drive for. We hang out. So it's actually like bringing the motor coach industry over to the driveway industry, except now we're just dealing with trucks.
Yep, absolutely. What about money? Do you like that? Have you been able to see increase in pay, or do you like the way the money is on the driveway side?
Actually, the money is much better in the driveway than it is charter bus. That's why it's going to be hard for me to go back if I had to.
Well, we don't want you to have to. I'll tell that right now. So what are some things? I know you probably have a little bit more set schedules with Motor Coach. So probably starting out in drive away from an expense standpoint, you probably over the past 5 months have had to learn different ways to save money. Is that something that you've kind of begin to get some good habits on, or did you just start off already knowing the ins and outs of drive away in terms of cost savings?
Well, actually, I didn't know about the drive away side of it, but I know the trucking industry because I also drove trucks when I was a lot younger. I had owned my own truck, so I know the business side of the trucking industry, and I just applied it to what I'm doing now on how to save and how to cut costs on a lot of different things. How to use the different apps as far as booking hotels, looking for cheap fuel, and stuff like that. So I already had a business mindset already, and it just helped out. It helped out a lot more for what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that will help out tremendously because as an owner operator, that's something that you constantly have to look out for, and you constantly have to cut costs and be able to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that's revenue and money in your pocket. So. What are some things that you do specifically to help cut costs outside of, cheap fuel and cheap hotels and stuff?
So what I do before I even plan to take a trip, I do a little trip planning on my end. Like I call my dispatcher if I see something on the board before I tell her I want it. I look and make sure that there's Ubers in the area, how much it would cost me to get an Uber from point A to point B, what the fuel cost would be. Getting fuel in that area to make sure that I can justify it to where I can at least, once I finish with everything, that I can incur at least 55 cents to 60 cents a mile off of doing a trip.
Yeah, that's great. So that pre-planning aspect of it is a big important part of that, and I see a lot more folks are more successful when they have that mindset and they take that trip planning attitude.
Yes, sir. And then there's a couple of apps that I use as well. For my trips too, before I take them. It's an app called Gas Buddy, which is really good to find out what the fuel cost is in different areas that you're going to be traveling in. So that's a really big friend of mine that I use all the time. And then Priceline for us with my hotels and different stuff. So it's just shopping around,
Yeah, being conscious of what's out there. Now, do you take advantage of any hotel reward points? Or you have any memberships or anything that you have right now?
Oh, yes, sir. From driving motor coaches, I had so many points saved up that sometimes I use a lot of points when I be booking my rooms.
Oh, yeah. That's great. That's another way to cut down costs, too, I'm sure. So, when you've been on the road with Norton, I'm sure you've ran into some crazy things in the motor coach industry and maybe even now in the driveway industry. So what may be the craziest thing that's happened to you when you were over the road?
A customer tried to force me to take a truck that wasn't safe to take.
Oh, wow. Was that with drive away?
Yes, sir. With drive away.
Oh, tell me more. How'd that go down?
I was up in I went to Massachusetts. Actually, it was like when I first started. I was in Massachusetts, and I went to a location to pick up a truck, which was like a UPS truck. It was an old truck. So I did my DOT inspection and walked around the truck and everything. So the truck was so rusted out, and then I checked the brakes. It was rusted out around the brakes, and I seen residue of oil leaked on the ground. So I went back and told the guy about it. Well, I called my dispatcher first and told her, and I told her what was going on. So she told me to talk to the customer about it. So I went back and told him, and he came. He said, "Well, I'm gonna get my guy to look at it." So he had his guy to come out and look at it. So his mechanic was like, "Yeah, this truck ain't no good." I said, "Yeah, I know." So I went back and told the guy that was in charge. He said, "Man, if you don't take this truck, the customer's gonna be mad, and I'm gonna tell him you didn't take the truck." I said, "Well, sir, it's not DOT ready. I can't take this truck from Massachusetts all the way to New Orleans to Louisiana and have an accident. So I'm sorry, but I hate to tell you, but I can't take this truck." And I think he was really mad at me for not taking it.
And that's a tough situation, I think, obviously, you've got to do what's right for you, especially as an independent contractor and, a business owner. You don't want to have any accidents or be in a position to where somebody gets hurt or even put yourself in a position where you're broken down and there's nothing you can do. So yeah, I mean that's certainly understandable, and I'm sure a lot of folks in the driveway industry have been unfortunately have unfortunately countered that situation before, I could imagine. Is there anything that you've seen over the road in terms of just crazy stories that stick out to you when you were in the motor coach industry?
Yeah, I did a trip. I was actually on my way to a trip to New York from out of Shreveport, Louisiana. And when I got up to Tennessee area, they had a big bear laying out in the middle of the road.
A bear?
A black bear laying out in the middle of the road. Yeah, and that was very interesting to me because I never seen it before. And just to be riding on the highway and see a bear in the middle of the road, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's insane. Did you get out of the way, or what did you do?
No, they actually. Well, I was kept on the road. They had people out there to try to get the bear picked up and out the road and stuff. But,
I wouldn't be out there.
It was amazing, but I kept on rolling.
Yeah,
Trying to get my customer what I had to be.
The things you see, but you got to get the job done, right?
Yes, sir.
I understand that. So you mentioned something a minute ago about you contacted your dispatcher, let them know about you had this customer that was that wanted you to take a truck that wasn't necessarily DOT ready. How important is that relationship with the dispatcher when you're in drive away?
My dispatcher is my best friend. I got to honestly say that I love my dispatcher. She is really good, and our relationship is a teamwork effort. I feel like she have my best interest at heart when I'm out here on the road. And like I told her before, I never ever in my life as being that's on the road for over 20 years had a dispatcher like her before.
And that's so important. And you hit the nail on the head. Have your best interest in mind, and that's so important in a dispatcher driver relationship. Because that's he or she has to be an advocate for you. They have to have your back and know what you like, what you don't like, things that are going to make it easier on you, and basically just to make sure that they're out there making it easy on you as they can, because you're out there grinding. If the wheels don't turn on your end, then nobody's earning, right?
That's right.
So what are some things that your dispatcher does for you?
She actually helped me with my trip planning. If I have a problem and I call her with a problem, she find a solution to get it done. She's just amazing. She does everything for me. And she does. Like if I'm on a trip, like if she know I'm heading to Houston right now, you can rest assured she's already trying to find me something in the area, no more than 3 hours away to get to pick up something else, so I can keep the wheels turning. And that's very important because we have a load board to access stuff like that for ourselves. But I feel like she goes above and beyond for us as drivers that's under her. And I really appreciate her.
Well, that's great. That's amazing, and I can't wait to share that with her, of course. But and I think that's one thing about it is you've got the load board, and it's convenient, and you can go on there and you can access request loads. But you're driving, you're busy. Right now, I imagine you're probably in the middle of traveling to your next load, so you don't always have a lot of time to constantly look at the load board. So if you know that you've got somebody there that's watching you, trying to connect the dots, trying to make sure that they set you up, man, that makes it easy, don't it?
Yes, sir. It really does.
Yeah, that's awesome. So are you in between pickups right now? Are you traveling somewhere to pick up your truck?
I'm actually sitting still right now, but I'm ready to head. I'm actually in my truck already. I'm heading to Houston with it to drop it off to a customer I picked up out of Fort Worth, Texas this morning. So I'm heading to Houston to drop this one off. Then I'll be catching a flight from Houston up to Missouri, to St. Louis.
Constantly moving.
Yes, sir.
Oh, good deal, good deal. Well, what do you do? So what do you do as for food? I always talk to drivers. We always share different stories, but one of the main things that's it's hard to get a good healthy balance going out there. I'm a foodie, so when I travel or when I go places, I always like trying new things or trying different restaurants with the same things that I always like to eat. What are some things that you enjoy in terms of food, or what are some ways that you try to be healthy when you're out on the road?
Well, I eat probably about once a day, then I snack throughout the day. Like today, I had a burrito. That was my first meal for the day, which was at 12 o'clock when I got it. And I probably won't eat anymore until I get to St. Louis tonight, get to the airport. Probably find like a little snack, like a little sandwich or apple or something to eat on, and just keep on rolling.
Just keep rolling. So you almost, it sounds like sitting down and enjoying a meal slows you down.
Yeah, I be moving so much and don't really have time. So
You
what I
don't-
do is I find it easier to either get some chicken or a Subway sandwich. And if I can get those two,
Oh
I know
yeah.
I can keep rolling and get to where I got to be on time and safe and get on to my next trip.
Is there a place that you like to visit, or somewhere that you've been either with motor coach or with driveway? Is there a particular place that you think's got the best food out there when you're rolling?
Well, to be honest with you, Houston has the best restaurants to me, if you ask me,
I
because there's
agree.
so many
Yeah, I
different
agree.
restaurants that you can get all kind of food in Houston.
Yeah, you can get anything you want. What's your favorite food?
I love I'm a big seafood eater.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too, big time. So what about places to see? So what about scenery? What's your outside of food? What's your favorite place to visit or favorite place to drive through? Where are some places you really like going?
I like Colorado when it's not snowing. Denver is really nice. And over the last couple of months, I have fell in love with doing a trip from North Dakota down to Colorado. So it's nice scenery coming through that way.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, we went out. I was out in Denver this year, or early summer, and it was my first time visiting Denver, and the weather was just beautiful. I know it gets cold in the winter, but we were out there, and no humidity. I'm here in Georgia, so always a lot of sticky, high humidity. So that weather out there was perfect. I loved it.
Yeah.
It's going to start getting cold soon, though.
Yeah, it's supposed to be snowing out tonight.
Yes, exactly. What is what do you see in your future with Norton? Do you enjoy this? You think you want to continue to do this? Do you see longevity in the driveway industry?
Yeah, I can see myself doing this for a long period of time. I'm comfortable with it. I have learned how to manage and make it work for me. The main thing I'm waiting on now is just see when a slow period hit and see how does it operate. Especially like during the winter months. I'm really not big on drive. I can drive in snow, but I prefer not to drive in the snow.
Sure.
So when the wintertime hit, I'm gonna have to adjust to, I guess, routing myself in different ways of making it work for myself. But I can see myself doing this for some years to come.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I could imagine. I know. From our side, when it comes to winter, trip planning is obviously something that you already do, and you work with your dispatcher, and that does become a little more tedious when you're trying to avoid snowstorms and different things like that's out there. So yeah, that is something that you have to learn to manage. What has been the hardest thing so far in the drive-away space that you've had to learn to manage?
To be honest with you, nothing. Actually, everything's been so easy. Norton makes it easy. My dispatcher, when I say my dispatcher is great, she makes my job easy. So I don't have nothing to really complain about us being hard or finding it to be difficult with doing it.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because we certainly want to be sure that we're doing a good job for you guys out there for sure. What is your favorite thing about Norton so far?
I don't feel like I'm just a number at Norton. I feel like I'm family.
Yeah, I think that's important. To have that relationship and to know, hey, you guys are appreciated. It's tough out there, especially when you're dealing with getting into situations where you've got trucks that are not DOT ready, and you want to make sure that the company you work for has your back for sure.
Yes, sir. And Norton, I feel Norton has my back. I can honestly say, for example, when my grandmother passed away about a month ago, when I got to my dad's hometown, which is Lockhart, Texas, my auntie them came to me and was like, "Hey, I think your job sent some flowers but to the funeral home." And sure enough, y'all had sent some flowers to the funeral home, and that really meant a lot to me. No money could amount to that, so that really set the standard.
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm certainly sorry for your loss, but that does mean a lot. I mean, it's that dealing with a family member loss, that's the toughest thing. So it is important to know that your employer cares. That's and we do. That's for sure. That's always tough to deal with. So talk to me about your what kind. You've done motor coaches. You're doing now with driveway. You're doing different types of trucks. What's one of your favorite things to drive, or do you have something out there that you prefer when you're load planning or when you're going into a load? What is it that Josh is looking for?
For a tractor with a sleeper on it.
I understand that. I understand that 100%. So do you Do you enjoy the? I mean, obviously you're a professional driver, but there's perks of driving. But what are some things that you do to keep your mind busy? I mean, are you a big phone guy? Do you listen to? Are you more of a radio guy? You more of a podcast guy? What are some things that you do on the road to keep you busy while you're driving?
I put on my Spotify and just listen to music while I'm rolling. I'm a big guy. I love music, so I put some good music on and just roll and look at the great creation of the earth, and that helps me stay awake.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to being out there on the road. What's your favorite music right now? What are you listening to right now?
Well, I was listening to some R&B when you called me, some R&B music, and I like some jazz.
Oh yeah. I love that. I love good jazz. You been to? You ever get to catch any concerts or anything while you're on the road, or does Josh stay business?
Well, when I was driving buses, I used to drive entertainer coaches, so I got a chance to go to a couple of concerts, and also I played in a band too. So
okay.
Music is what I do. So I've been to quite a few concerts to watch and to perform.
What do you play? What instrument do you play?
I play drums.
Drums, awesome. That's awesome. Well, so when you said motor coach, so you actually drove like entertainers. It wasn't just passenger buses. It was people
I did entertainers as well.
Oh, is there any? Probably can't go down this road, but was there any stories you could tell about? I've heard, VH1 behind the music. I've heard some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I got some stories, but I just cannot share.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case.
Yeah, but I got some stories out there though. It's crazy.
They probably do they make you like sign a privacy thing?
They actually make when the first client I drove, well not my first client, but the first company that ever made me sign an affidavit was when I drove Chris Brown back in 2007.
Wow.
And they said for me not to really talk about what was going on while we was out and stuff like that. And that was the first time I ever signed a waiver. But with other customers, I never had signed a waiver before. But I'm the type of guy, with me being in the entertainment industry as well as myself, I know the do's and the don'ts. So
Sure.
I just don't do it. I have customers, people come up to me, want to know who I'm driving, offer me all kind of stuff, to know who it is or to see who it is. And I would tell them, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, that's great. You want to people need their privacy, and you got all these entertainers out there. They don't want all their stuff getting out. So that's very noble of you and respectful that you're able to do that. Well, a transition a little bit. So what got you into driving? What was what was the one thing that you decided? I want to be a driver. I want to join this community of heroes, and I want to get out there on the road.
When I was a kid, I see my grandfather and my uncles. They drove trucks and worked out in the transportation industry with driving, and mainly they all drove trucks. And I wanted to be a truck driver as a kid. It always been my dream to be a truck driver, to drive a limousine, fly a plane, sail a boat, drive a bus. So I'm really just following my dream.
That's great. Living the dream out there. And I've noticed that, a lot of it's multi-generational, driving is, even with Norton, it's a multi-generational business. And, the drivers that I speak to, usually there's a rich history within the trucking world. And, that lifestyle, you've been around that lifestyle, the benefits. I mean, you're traveling for a living. It's work, but you're traveling, right?
Uh-huh.
So is there anything that you would look back at your younger self when you first started into Drive Away, or when you were thinking about being a trucker? Is there any advice that you wish you could go back and tell your younger self?
Yeah, I wish I would have took it more serious back then and been more business minded. When it came to managing money management, looking for better deals versus jumping on the first thing you see.
Yeah, I could see that, especially you were an owner-operator for how long?
I was owner-operator for about 4 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that becomes tough, and it's very important to be out there managing money. And like it sounds like with what you do, you don't, spend a lot on food, or it sounds like, you're frugal with, paying attention to money savings. And is that because of, that being an owner-operator and having to maybe learn some stuff the hard way, if you will?
Yes, sir. That's exactly the reason why.
Yeah, because you're a contract employee, so you've got to make sure you save your receipts and turn everything in, and there's so much that goes into it. So I can definitely see how being an owner operator has helped you on the road.
Yes, sir.
Well, have you ever driven into or out of Canada before?
No, sir, never.
That's that's something that we talked a little bit about last week, and I always just find it interesting to hear folks' stories about where they've gone and what they've done, and what's the most interesting place that you've driven to, whether it be interesting in the people or the drive or the scenery or whatever it may be.
I like Seattle, Washington. Seattle, Washington is a very beautiful state during the springtime when all the snow is melting off the side of the mountains. I went there years ago when I was driving trucks, and when I first seen it, I fell in love with it.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful out there. And have you been able to go recently?
I had opportunities, but I declined it.
Ah, well, that's another cool thing about it, right? You get to choose.
Yes, sir.
Well, I know you love the flexibility, and I just want to say, we're glad to have you, and you're doing a fantastic job out there, and we're glad to have you as a part of Norton. Glad to have you on the Six Figure Trucker Show. Is there anything else that you'd like to share out there with other folks that may be looking to get into the driveway industry? What are some benefits that you see, or just other drivers in general that to share about driveway and your experience?
Yeah, come to Norton Transport.
Where all your dreams come true.
Where all your dreams come true, and if you need help, you got people here to help. Including myself. I'm only a phone call away.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you've been able to, connect with drivers and help them. That's important to be in that community mindset when it comes to other drivers. So I want to say thank you to that, because you've actually reached out to drivers yourself, right?
Yes, sir.
What are some things that you share with them when you do that?
Well, they ask me. I tell them, first of all, the best way to do it and to be successful, because I have a lot of guys ask me, is to learn how to trip plan. And if you plan your trip out, everything can go great. And then also being mindful of the different discounts that we have out there as far as fuel costs, hotels, and different stuff like that they need to download on their phone to have different apps to help them with their trip planner.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, that's important. It's very important to trip plan and to get all that stuff together, and they can see how you've been successful. You're successful with your money. You're making more money, and you're doing the right things to do that. So that's awesome. And
then they also have a couple of Facebook pages that help out too, where guys share information on Facebook. That's just for driveway drivers, and that becomes very helpful as well too.
Yeah, that goes back to social media. It's just it's such a tight-knit community, and being able to have those resources readily available, or maybe somebody's in an area that they need help with, or somebody's been there and they can help them, or maybe somebody needs a ride, or maybe somebody has a truck and they need to know a little bit more information about it because they've never driven it before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, in the world of social media, things are certainly so much easier. Well, Josh, I know you're moving, you're grooving, and I've taken up too much of your time already, but, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being on the Six Figure Trucker. You're doing a fantastic job. Thank you for being a Norton driver, and we certainly appreciate all you do.
Six Figure Trucker is brought to you by Norton Transport. Norton Transport is a drive-away trucking company that customers can rely on. It offers excellent independent contract driving opportunities to professional, courteous, and qualified drivers that can provide the kind of service we deliver. If you're interested in learning more about Norton or just want to subscribe to the show, check out 6-figuretrucker.com. That's 6-figuretrucker.com.